Welcome Diecast fans, I'm Tom Spanners Watson.
And I'm Frank the Guru Gibbs.
And it's time for a monster DSPN report. We've got so much on tonight, we've blown right past our 15-minute window that we'd like to keep it to. Let us know in the comments if it's getting too long. Alright, first up, there are driver calls happening at Wallside Diecast Racing and Urban Underground Racing. Check those out if you're interested in being a driver. Speaking of drivers, the latest Diecast Racing report shows you the mail-in race deadlines. So if you're interested in those, make sure you get over there. And our friends over at Jackson Pass Speedway are about to kick off their Cavalcade of Calamity.
Then in the tips section, there's My Custom Hotwheels. If you're looking for race decals for your customs, or you're just wanting to make some shelf queens, doesn't matter, they've got all the decals you need there. And they've got a fantastic tips section. This particular story is how to prevent or remove the white residue you get when you're using superglue, which I know a lot of you get, so definitely worthwhile checking out that article.
Moving into drag racing, we're going to kick off first with Widowmaker Run. Now you'll be familiar with Widowmaker from the last few reports and of course his wide track that we've featured a few times, but he also has a straight up drag track in the same location, and it's got a very unique finish. I love they go through the finish line and hit that massive jump.
Then Sub 4RA continues on with his JLH Crafts truck series, and it's been a brilliant series so far, and this one doesn't disappoint. Make sure you head over and check out all the races. There's been some great stuff so far, and he's into the finals.
Then Rust Belt Diecast Racing are back at the Skydrop, and this week there is a brutal crash there. You see the Mitsubishi Evo just going completely off track and slamming through all the spectators. That's the sort of carnage you see at the Canyon. It's ridiculous. You don't expect to see that on a drag track, or technically just off a drag track, but exciting nonetheless.
Then Diecast Draggor continues on with his Grudge Match series, and he's gone back to his laned track, so lots of good racing on this one. Have a look at that one, check it out.
Then we head over to WeRaceDiecast. Now we featured these guys last week as well, but they're carrying on with their Battle of the 5-packs, and we love this laned to open drag track, and you see only a couple of the cars actually manage to stay straight, and that's what makes the difference to the pace here. See them travel up from the back of the pack almost to the very front. It's absolutely great racing, love to see it.
And then DAE Diecast Racing is one that we featured in Trax by last week, so he's continuing on with his NFL drag race series, where he's assigned different NFL teams to the cars. Some great racing, and of course he's got that great slow-mo, so you can see what's really happening right on the finish line.
Then Sonora Diecast Racing League put on an excellent outdoor race again, a slightly different track layout to before. They've got a small jump, a couple of trees on the track this time, but check out that Wario accident. That is one of the most impressive breakdancing maneuvers I think I've ever seen on a diecast track. Just brilliant. Head along, check out their channel, some great stuff there.
Then Greatest of All Time Racing continues on with his drag racing series, and there are some brilliantly close drag races here. This overhead cam is an absolute essential to pick up who's winning, because these cars are so close. I mean, look at that, it's like a hair's breadth away from each other.
And then My Hotwheels Collection did a Urus challenge, which is the Lamborghini SUV, and it was great to see some of the old models versus some of the new models, and he was testing which ones were faster. And I love the fact that he's got the safety gate to stop them flying off the side of the track.
Then MNM Racing, we featured them the other week, continued on with their series, and again it's one of these brilliant lanes to open track drag races, and this is where being able to stay straight is really key, and I like that because it's more like a real street race and you're actually testing how good your car really is, because anyone can stay on the rails, but when you get open track, that's where that magic happens.
And G&R Vintage Diecast changed from their typical big kahuna track that we've seen so many times before, which is this one here. They were just running a straight drag track and putting these absolutely beautiful cars down the track to see which ones were fastest. Great little series. Absolutely go over and check that one out.
Then we move into tournaments and we kick off with Hot Car Track and his Lamborghini tournament. There was some absolutely brilliant racing last week and that continued on this week. He was working with Chris from Trax Racing as a co-commentator, and I think that works really well, and you just got some brilliant racing there, lots of close overtakes, lots of close finishes, and some quite spectacular racing. Love that track.
Then sticking with the exotic theme, Transport Diecast Racing continued on with his Ferrari tournament, and he's into the final rounds. And we've said it many times, we love this track. It's really well themed, nicely laid out, great track, but it also allows for some awesome overtakes. And if you watch this one here, you see the white Ferrari out in front, loses a little bit of pace, and then just a beautiful overtaking maneuver on that second to last straight by the purple Ferrari. Absolutely brilliant.
Then Chris was running his own race over at Trax, so this was the final of his championship in the charity race, and this particular race here was absolutely brilliant. Lotus in the outside comes around, does a beautiful job of pulling the Zender back here, and it's just neck and neck all the way to the finish. Absolutely great stuff.
Then Cleveland City Diecast continued on with his Ford versus Ferrari series, and this has been fantastic to watch. I just love this. Unfortunately, the Ford, they're going off track, coming down that second to last straight, gets a little bit loose coming out of this turn here, gets a little bit loose on the exit, backs into the wall and just gets completely flipped off the track. But very exciting to watch. Really enjoy that series.
Then Live Young Diecast continues on with his Fast and Furious tournament, and he was running the 4 cars at once, and you see here the skyline goes sideways, but that Mustang just gets up on the side of the track and gets absolutely planted on his roof. It's pretty rough. You'll see it here in the replay. They go across, and he's lucky he actually stayed on the track. It was quite a nice bit of driving.
Then Indiana Diecast Racing continued on with their IDR Open, and the Mustang here also getting a little bit loose and getting up on the side of the track, but just keeps it interesting. See him come out of the turn here, gets up on the side of the track, manages to pull it back in, and then all of the cars actually made it to the finish. Nobody actually wiped out through the triangle there, which was unusual, but you see the Mustang just coming up here, gets his wheels up on the side again. It was just amazing that he even managed to finish.
Then Mac Mountain at Low Country Diecast had a huge live tournament, which was absolutely brilliant to watch. It's a monster video. It's like 44 minutes long, but lots of good racing. It's a great little, well, it's not even that little. It's a great track and lots of exciting action on that track to watch.
And speaking of exciting, Meal Ticket Raceway, they were using the JLH Craft 6-lane E-gate. Now that's a very cool gate for everyone with a 6-lane dragway that want an electronic start gate. Definitely check that one out over at JLH Crafts on Facebook. But we love Meal Ticket Raceway. It's a huge big track, laned the whole way. Everybody has an individual corner. Nobody's got a distance advantage. They're all running the same distance, so you get a really good sense of how fast the cars are over a really long distance. And you see right at the back there, someone coming in last. Womp womp womp.
And of course we had NAS Carnage kick off at the Canyon again. This was groups 5 and 6, and we had the closest finish we've had yet in the first lap, with 4 cars crossing basically nose to tail. It was absolutely incredible. We hadn't seen that before, but it didn't last long. There were cars flipping off the track, flipping upside down, as you'd expect. NAS Carnage living up to its name.
And then into street racing, 3D BotMaker continued on with King of the Mountain, and this time it was the turn of the Nissans. We've just got this race here for you with King Yardy out in front. He'd had a spill off the track and then almost repeated it here, bouncing around the track, blocks the track, then gets smacked around by the van. Someone goes over in the background and then races down to the finish. Great tournament, some excellent racing, absolute pleasure to watch.
Then DRC Racing had their yard race, and we love this track as well. So very nicely themed, home-built, hand-built track, but really interesting. There's lots of little twists and turns, little sides as they go around a couple of the containers as well. And he's just added that jump finish just to add a little bit more excitement. Some of the cars handle it well, others not so well, like that one there.
And then speaking of jumps, Mike over at RTR continued on with his Saturday night's GRUDGEFEST of Hot Wheels versus MATCHBOX. This time it was the Cadillac Escalade's turn, and he's added a jump at the end just for a little bit of excitement as they cross the finish line, and man, it absolutely lived up to it this week. Check this out as they come down. So the white Escalade backs it in and then completely blows the landing, just like hits the nose and rolls. And then in the next race, the grey one comes through and completely barrel rolls over the finish. It was absolutely brutal. The other guy, I don't know if he was laughing or scared, but he pulled up short.
And then Chris at Trax Racing put on a special event because it was Jason's birthday and he'd just been given this Koenigsegg Jesco and the McLaren Speedtail. So they put them to the test against each other and it was absolutely brilliant bit of racing. That Koenigsegg is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely love that car. But go and check it out and see what happened with both races. It was very, very exciting to watch.
And Beaverworks put a stock Daytona Superbird against a modified version that they had worked on. So it's been lowered, added weight, all the usual things you do with a modified. And it was really interesting to see how the two of them went down the track. And there was plenty of thrills and spills there.
And Diecast Racer X had his road race again, and I just love this track. It's really fast, really brutal, and so long as well. Like, it's a monster long track. He does so well to keep up with them. They're moving so fast. And you look at this, the Skyline well out in front, but blows it on the end there and just gets absolutely nailed by the F40. It was brilliant to watch.
Moving into special events, we've got quite a few tonight. We're going to kick off with 3D BotMaker and of course the DRC Rally. He is into round number 3. And Stephen King not having it all his way this tournament, still a top contender, but you see here, absolutely neck and neck coming down to the finish for one of the closest finishes they've ever had in the tournament. It was absolutely brilliant to watch and just a thing of beauty watching them both leap over that finish line.
And Big Poppy continued on with the Diecast Games for 2020. This time it's the hill climb. So they start at one end at a particular height, they get dropped, and they race down, and you get points based on how high up you go on the other side. It's really interesting to see the difference in all the different cars.
Checkered Flag Contention did something that I thought was really cool. They had a pickup truck delivery race. So each truck has 2 boxes in the back, and they get points for how many boxes they still have in at the end of the race. Now, it looks pretty easy, but you'll see the Chevy there actually lost one coming around that last turn. The Ford, great job, nice and high on the track, so he keeps the inertia of the boxes, but the Chevy coming in low just drops one out the back.
I'd be interested to try that at the Canyon, mate, but I don't think they'd stay in over the jump.
You're probably right, mate.
And then Diablo Ridge Raceway put on a monster truck tournament, and this was great because he has a long jump challenge where they come down and they're measuring the distance to see who could get the greatest distance. And then he also had just a straight up monster truck race where they crush cars and race to the finish. It was awesome to watch. If you like monster trucks, you definitely have to check that out.
And then High Forest Diecast Racing is still testing his track. That was one that we put into Trax a little while ago. And this time he was testing a jump with what's well known as the Superman Stephen King car.
And Stuntman Sam this week literally set the place on fire. He jumped through 2 hoops that were on fire in the canyon. Super dangerous. Do not try this at home. It is dangerous. There is a real risk of damage. Leave it to the professionals like Stuntman Sam. He knows what he's doing.
What have you got for us in Frank's Custom Corner tonight, mate?
Well, I wanted to go back to Custom Diecast channel with Sharon Tarshish. He did this beautiful car here where he shows you how to build in damage to the car. And it's not just about grinding little dents into it. He's actually put massive dents into the doors and the roof. Check out the video, it's well worth it.
Then in Track Spy tonight, we've got 3 new tracks. So first up, there's Irons Diecast Racing, and the channel is called Cody Irons. And we love this one. It's the only time we've ever seen an upward spiral. Everybody else runs downhill. He decided to run spiral up, and I absolutely love that. It was very cool. Then Summers Raceway is a new drag track that's out. So they were doing a funny car tournament this time around. Nice short drag track, no mucking around, lots of good racing. If drag racing's your thing, you definitely want to check out Summers Raceway. And finally, Irwell Ridge. Now this channel is only just been made up. He's only got like 2 or 3 videos there, but it is awesome and I'm dying to see some more actual races. This is an outdoor track with some brilliant action. It's got a tunnel there. He's done some great stuff with the chase cam. You see the carnage there. It's absolutely brilliant.
And speaking of carnage, mate, it's not Stuntman Sam this week, it's Mike G, but it is at the Canyon. That truck where he jumps off the side of the track and parks himself in the back of that flatbed was unbelievable. That was the very first lap, and we have never ever in any race seen anybody park so perfectly mid-race. That was not a planned stunt. Well, certainly we didn't know it was happening, but he just picked it perfectly.
Wow, that was awesome. All right, that is definitely enough for this week. It's been a monster long report. Hopefully you've stuck around this long. If you have, let us know in the comments if this is getting too long for you. We try to keep it under 15 minutes, but there are so many good channels and so much good information out there. We're just struggling to keep it short, but let us know if we need to shorten it down for you. All right, that's enough from us. I'm Tom Spanners Watson. He's Frank the Guru Gibbs. We'll see you next time.
Man, I could really do with a drink after this one. That was hugely long.
I know what you mean, mate. Let's head to the bar.